The universe had witnessed empires rise and fall, but none had seen a moment as silent, as trembling, as the instant the alien queen of Gasped, soft, disbelieving, almost fragile. For the first time in recorded history, her 7 shimmering crowns flickered. Her violet eyes widened, not in fear, but in awe. Because standing before her, surrounded by the broken glow of ancient starlight and drifting dust of a forgotten battlefield, was a single human. A human who should not have existed here. A human who should have been a myth. A human who, according to every ancient prophecy, was never supposed to set foot on this world again. His name was Ilias. And the queen whispered, breath trembling like the flutter of wounded wings, "So it's true, you really are the legendary human." That was how the final era began. Ilias did not move at first. He merely stood there, a lone figure draped in a travel-worn jacket, a soft amber glow circling his wrist where the celestial key hummed with life. His heartbeat echoed louder than the fatting thunder of the suns above. He had known fear. He had known exhaustion, but this moment, this single moment, felt heavier than all worlds combined. Because was not simply a ruler. She was the guardian of a destiny older than both their species. And she had been waiting. The chamber around them, carved from crystalline roots of the living planet, hummed with responses to her emotions. The walls pulsed gently like a heartbeat, hers echoing through the sanctuary. Each pulse trembled with disbelief, hope, and something she had never allowed herself to feel, vulnerability. "Your arrival," she murmured, voice still soft. "It means the prophecy of his awakening." Ilias took a slow breath, steadying himself. "I don't know anything about prophecies. I'm just here because your distress signal reached the last human outpost." But shook her head. "No, you were not summoned by a machine." She stepped closer, regal, tall, luminous. "You were summoned by the planet itself." Ilias felt a strange pressure behind his ribs, like the air itself was listening, like her words tugged at something deep inside him, something he had run from for years. Studied him, her expression shifting, curiosity, relief, and a quiet ache that seemed older than the stars outside. The legends spoke of a human whose presence alone could reset the balance, a human who carried a heart that never yielded, even when the universe demanded it. Ilias lowered his gaze. "I'm not that strong." But the queen smiled then, softly, unexpectedly. It was a smile that felt like dawn breaking after ages of darkness. "Humans always say that," she whispered. "And yet, you are the only ones who rise when everything else falls." Her words warmed the coldest corners of his heart. For years he had wandered alone, believing humans were fading, nearly forgotten by greater civilizations. He had believed they had no place in the cosmos anymore. But now, right here, was a queen who spoke of humanity as if it were a sacred gift. Before he could respond, the sanctuary shook, deep, rumbling, alive with warning. The planet's roots glowed red. Turned sharply, her expression tightening. "They've found us." "Who?" Ilias asked. "The Fallen Order," she said. "If they capture me, the prophecy collapses, and your people's last hope ends with it." Ilias felt something shift within him, resolve sharp and bright. "We're getting out of here," he said, stepping forward. Met his eyes, and in them he saw trust, complete and immediate, as if she had waited her entire life for someone who carried a human heart. "Then," she whispered, extending her hand, "our destiny begins now." And when Ilias took it, a surge of ancient energy burst around them, glowing gold and amethyst, binding 2 worlds with a touch. The queen had gasped in awe, yes. But what came next would make the entire universe tremble. The moment Ilias' hand touched, a radiant wave spiraled outward, warm, ancient, alive. It swept through the crystalline chamber, echoing through the roots of the living planet. For a second, Ilias felt weightless, suspended between worlds, his heart beating in harmony with something far greater than himself. His breath caught. She wasn't used to physical contact, not with her own people, and certainly not with another species. Yet his touch didn't frighten her. Instead, it anchored her, grounded her, made her feel safe, an unfamiliar, fragile feeling for a queen who had carried galaxies of responsibility on her shoulders since childhood. Elias, she whispered as the glow faded. Your presence awakened the planet pulse. Is that good? He asked, trying to ignore the pull of exhaustion and the trembling warmth running through his veins. Her eyes softened. It means your heart is recognized here. Before he could respond, a thunderous crack shook the sanctuary. Splinters of light rained down from the ceiling as shadows swarmed overhead, sleek metallic creatures with burning crimson eyes. The Fallen Order's scouts. His expression hardened instantly. She stepped in front of Elias, her 7 shimmering crowns illuminating with a protective glow. Stay behind me. Elias shook his head. I didn't come here to hide. Before she could protest, he pulled her gently but firmly behind a protective crystal arch as a barrage of plasma fire erupted from the attackers. The chamber lit up with blinding flashes. Watched him, stunned, not by the danger but by his instinctive protectiveness. Humans, she thought, are truly unlike any species. They protect even when they're afraid. They fight even when they're outmatched. And Elias, he didn't even realize how extraordinary he was. Elias, we need the exit passage, she said, lifting her palm. A violet barrier surged outward, deflecting a blast that would struck him. He nodded. Which way? She pointed to the far end of the chamber where the living walls pulsed faintly. Through the heartroot corridor. They ran, Elias guiding her through falling shards and roaring echoes. The scouts pursued, their movements swift and predatory. Paused every few steps to raise shimmering shields, but even she was beginning to breathe harder, her energy flickering. You're hurting, Elias said quietly as they ducked behind a massive root wall. I'm managing, she replied, but her voice betrayed her fatigue. Without hesitation, Elias reached out, steadying her shoulders. Lean on me. His eyes widened, not at the offer, but at the sincerity behind it. No subject, no soldier, no advisor had ever spoken to her like that, as if she wasn't a queen, but a person, someone worth protecting not for her crown, but for herself. Thank you, she murmured, allowing a small part of her weight to rest against him. For a moment the universe shrank around them, just 2 souls standing together in the trembling heart of a dying sanctuary. Elias felt warmth radiate from her, a shimmering presence that filled the air. In return, felt his heartbeat, steady, human, fiercely alive. But peace lasted only a heartbeat. A deafening roar erupted behind them as the scouts broke through their last barrier. Elias grabbed her hand. Go. They sprinted into the heartroot corridor, a glowing tunnel that pulsed like a living artery. The moment they crossed the threshold, the tunnel sealed behind them, cutting off the swarm of scouts. At last, silence. The corridor's luminescent walls echoed with trembling breath. We have only minutes before they break through. Elias leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Where does this lead? To the bridge, she said. If we reach it, the planet will guide us to safety. Then her voice softened. Elias, thank you for not leaving me behind. He looked at her, truly looked at her, beyond the crowns, the power, the legend, and saw a woman fighting to keep her world alive. A woman who carried centuries of destiny in her eyes and still had space for kindness. I couldn't, he said quietly, and I won't. Her heartbeat stuttered in her chest. No prophecy had ever mentioned this, the part where the legendary human would make the Queen of feel something she had long believed she was incapable of. Hope born from the warmth of another soul. The tunnel's light brightened, signaling the path forward. Their journey had only begun. But already fate was shifting. The heartroot corridor guided Elias and forward with a soft, rhythmic glow, almost as if the planet itself whispered encouragement beneath their feet. Every step pulsed with ancient energy, faint enough to feel, strong enough to remind them they were not walking alone. His long cloak brushed the floor as she moved, still close to Elias. Her 7 crowns dimmed to a soft amethyst hue, signaling her exhaustion. He kept glancing at her, worried, though she tried to hide the slight tremor in her fingers. You're still tired, Elias said gently. She hesitated, then nodded. The barriers I created drained much of my energy. I did not expect the Fallen Order to track me this far. Elias frowned. Why are they after you? Her steps slowed, and she turned her face away for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Because I am the last key to restoring what they destroyed. The prophecy of it can only awaken through a bond. She paused before adding softly, a bond with a human heart. Something shifted in Elia's chest, not fear, not pressure, but a strange, rising ache. A bond, what does that mean? Before she could answer, the corridor trembled. The living walls flickered, sending glowing ripples down the tunnel. They're breaking through, whispered. Elias instinctively stepped in front of her, though he had no shield, no armor, nothing but determination. Felt the gesture more deeply than he could ever guess. She had been protected by armies her entire life, but never like this. Never by someone who simply wanted to keep her safe. The tremor passed, the light steadied. We must keep moving, said softly. They walked again, quicker now. A few minutes later, the corridor widened into a grand chamber, the bridge. Its name became clear the moment Elias saw it. Great luminous leaves floated in the air, forming a spiraling path over a vast abyss. Each leaf glowed from within like a suspended star. It's beautiful, Elias breathed. Smiled faintly. The bridge only forms for those the planet trusts. He looked at her. It trusts you. It trusts us, she corrected gently. A warmth spread through Elias' chest again, but he couldn't dwell on it. They stepped onto the first leaf together. It shimmered under their weight, glowing brighter with every step. Beneath them stretched miles of shimmering veins, roots carrying the planet's memories. Halfway across, pace slowed. Elias noticed her breath guide slipping, but not from exhaustion this time. Her gaze had fixed on the glowing abyss below, her expression distant. Elias asked softly, I haven't crossed this bridge since I was a child, she said. It was the last place I stood with my mother. Elias felt the air thicken with unspoken grief. What happened to her? His eyes shimmered. She fell protecting me during the first rise of the fallen order. Her energy sealed the prophecy within the planet and left me with a throne, an unfinished destiny, and a heart I never allowed myself to feel again. Elias' breath caught. You were just a child. She nodded, and from that day forward I believed strong emotions would only lead to loss. So I locked them away. I ruled with logic, distance, and duty. She looked at him, and the vulnerability in her eyes nearly broke him. But now I feel things again, because of you. Elias' heart stopped for a moment. What do you mean? Her voice softened into a whisper, fragile, honest. You speak to me without fear. You protect me without hesitation. You look at me as if I'm more than a queen, and for the first time, I want to be seen that way. Elias swallowed hard, emotions rising too quickly to manage. But before he could respond, the entire bridge shook violently. Behind them, the corridor split open, as the Fallen Order scouts swarmed out like a flood of metal and shadow. Grabbed Elias' hand, run. They sprinted across the glowing leaves, the bridge lighting at their heels. The scouts lunged after them, their steps shattering the delicate star leaves behind them. But Elias didn't look back. He held his hand tightly, guiding her forward, refusing to let her fall. Not here, not again. Ahead, a bright archway formed, an exit, their only chance. The planet roared beneath them. The scouts grew closer, the bridge cracked. Whispered voice shaking, don't let go. I won't, Elias said through his breath. Not ever. The final leaf shattered behind them. And they leapt. Together, toward a destiny neither of them fully understood, but both were now bound to face. They landed hard, but alive, on a soft bed of shimmering moss as the portal sealed shut behind them. The crash knocked the wind out of Elias and rolled beside him, her crowns flickering wildly before stabilizing into a soft glow. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Their breaths echoed in the quiet, cool air. The adrenaline they had been sprinting on finally settled into trembling exhaustion. Elias sat up first, rubbing his shoulders. You okay? Inhaled deeply, then pushed herself upright with grace that only royalty could maintain even after a fall. I am mostly unharmed, she said, though her voice was softer than usual. Elia's gaze swept over her face, checking for signs of pain. When she noticed, her expression softened. "And you? That was a dangerous leap." "Worth it," Elia said simply. Something warm flickered behind her eyes. Now they had a moment to look around. They were in a vast, luminous forest, the moonlit vale where every leaf shone like silver and every flower glowed faintly blue. Soft mist curled around their feet. The air smelled fresh, like new beginnings. Exhaled slowly. The planet brought us to its deep sanctuary. This place only reveals itself to those it accepts. "Kind of like the bridge?" Elias asked. "Yes," she murmured, "but this place is far more sacred." They began walking through the glowing forest, the light forming a natural path. Elias brushed his hand along a luminous vine. It brightened at his touch. "It reacts to you more than to me," observed gently. "It seems your presence is stronger here." Elias frowned, "But I don't understand why." Hesitated. "Perhaps it is time you know the truth." He slowed. "What truth?" She turned to face him fully, her expression a mix of strength and sorrow. "The prophecy speaks of a human whose heart carries light powerful enough to awaken worlds. Your kind vanished from the cosmic stage long ago, but one line in the prophecy remained. The last human to walk the stars will hold a heart that refuses to fade." Elias looked down. "But I'm not special. I'm just someone who survived longer than the rest." "No," she said firmly, stepping closer. "You survived because something in you is meant for more. I felt it the moment you arrived. The planet felt it. And every time you act, every time you convince me to keep believing, I see the truth of the prophecy in your eyes." Her words settled into him like embers finding dry wood. Elias swallowed. "I've spent so long believing I didn't matter, that humans didn't matter anymore." She shook her head softly, her voice warming like sunrise. "Humanity matters because of hearts like yours, hearts that still choose compassion even when the universe offers none in return." Elias felt something inside him tremble, not weakness, something deeper. But before he could speak, the ground beneath them vibrated, froze. "What was that?" Elias whispered. "The planet is warning us," she said, her eyes sharpening. Then from the mist ahead, a tall figure emerged, a being draped in tattered silver armor, its face hidden by a cracked mask. Its movements were slow but precise, its energy unmistakably hostile. "A sentinel of the fallen order," breathed, "stronger than the scouts." Elias instinctively stepped in front of her. "Elias." "No," he said firmly. "I'm here. I'm not letting anything happen to you." The sentinel raised its arm, charging a violent surge of red energy, grasped Elias' wrist, pulling him back. "You can't fight that." "Then we run," Elias said, "together." As if hearing their decision, the forest responded, vines slithering down from the glowing branches, roots shifting, creating a winding path deeper into the sanctuary. Elias grabbed hand, and they sprinted down the illuminated trail as the sentinel followed, crushing luminous plants underfoot. The forest moved to protect them, closing behind them, opening ahead. Their breaths quickened. The sentinel's growl echoed closer. His grip tightened around Elias' hand. "There is a place ahead, the heart of the veil. If we reach it, the planet can shield us completely." "Then that's where we go," Elias said. But as they neared the glowing archway ahead, steps faltered. A sharp pain shot across her expression, and her knees buckled. Elias caught her immediately. She clutched her chest, crowns dimming. "My energy, I can't." Elias pulled her close, supporting all her weight. "I've got you, just hold on." Behind them, the sentinel roared. And Elias made a promise he had never spoken aloud until this moment. "I won't let anything take you, not now, not ever." Within his arms, he ran toward the heart of the veil as the forest blazed with ancient power around them. Destiny was beginning to awaken. Elias ran within his arms, the glowing forest bending and reshaping itself at their urgency. Light swept beneath his feet like ripples spreading across a moonlit lake. The sentinel's heavy footsteps thundered from behind, each strike shaking the ground with brute force. Its red energy pulsed through the mist like a warning of doom closing in. Leaned weakly against Elia's chest, her breath shallow, her usually brilliant crowns dimmed to faint embers. He could feel the trembling in her body. She was drained far beyond what she had admitted. "Elias," she whispered, barely audible. "You must put me down. You won't outrun a sentinel while carrying." "No," he said immediately, tightening his hold. "I'm not leaving you behind." Her eyelids fluttered, her voice soft but stubborn. "You cannot protect me if you fall." "And I won't fall," he insisted, breath ragged. "Not while you need me." A quiet, fragile emotion shimmered in her eyes. "Humans," she whispered, "you always give more than you have." "And you always underestimate how much you're worth," he answered. Ahead, a massive arch of intertwined, luminous roots appeared, glowing brighter with every step they took. It felt alive, expectant, like a heartbeat waiting for them. "That's the heart of the veil," managed. "The planet's core essence rests there. If we enter, we'll be protected." "Then we're almost there," Elias said, hope pouring strength into his legs. But the sentinel felt their nearing escape. It released a roar that split the mist and hurled a surge of red energy toward them. The blast struck a nearby tree, exploding it into glowing shards. Elias shielded with his body, turning his back to the debris. Shards hit his shoulders and arms, stinging sharply, but he didn't slow. Almost there. The forest itself seemed to respond to his determination. Vines burst from the ground, wrapping around the sentinel's legs, slowing it. Branches descended from above, forming barriers that forced it to hack its way through. Still, the creature advanced, relentless. At last, Elias crossed into the archway. The moment they entered, a shockwave of light cascaded around them like a protective dome. The sentinel slammed into an invisible barrier, crimson energy flashing against golden light, but it couldn't cross. Elias dropped to his knees from sheer exhaustion, still cradling carefully. The sanctum around them was breathtaking, a circular clearing filled with floating lights, gently rotating orbs of memories, and an enormous glowing tree at the center, the heartroot. His eyes opened slowly. "We made it." Elias brushed a strand of her silver hair from her forehead. "You're safe now." Her breath trembled. "Because of you." The heartroot pulsed once, as if acknowledging the truth in her words. Tried to lift herself, but Elias steadied her. "Rest," he murmured. "You don't have to stand yet." Her gaze softened, full of unspoken emotion. "Elias, why? Why do you go this far for someone you've known for so short a time?" He held her gently, his voice quieter now, stripped of defenses. "Because I can't watch another life fade while I'm still breathing. I've lost too many people, too many reasons to keep going." He paused, swallowing hard. "But when I saw you fighting alone, when I saw how much you carry, I couldn't turn away." Her eyes glistened, the glow of the sanctuary reflecting like constellations. "I am a queen," she whispered, voice trembling. "I'm meant to be strong, but with you, I don't feel alone." Elias touched her hand, his thumb brushing lightly against her knuckles. "You shouldn't have to be alone." A soft glow began to form around his chest, weaving gentle tendrils of light that reached toward Elias' hand. She gasped, "The heart of the veil, it's responding to our bond." The entire sanctum brightened, its soft energy wrapping around them like a celestial embrace. Through the barrier, the sentinel roared again, but its cries grew distant, irrelevant, unable to breach the sanctum. The heartroot tree lit up with golden fire, its branches swaying without wind as though bowing to them. Looked at Elias, her expression filled with awe and something deeper, more fragile. "This is the first sign," she breathed. "The prophecy is awakening." Elias felt the warmth spreading through his hand into his chest. "What does it mean?" His voice quivered as she whispered, "It means the universe has chosen us, together." And in that sacred sanctuary, surrounded by ancient light and a destiny neither fully understood, their bond deepened. The kind of bond that could reshape galaxies, heal worlds, or break them. Light wrapped around Elias and like a protective cocoon, soft and warm, almost like the planet itself was holding its breath. The heartroot tree pulsed again, slow, steady, ancient. Each pulse echoed inside Elia's chest, syncing with his heartbeat. Felt it too, her eyes widened as the golden glow reflected across her irises. "It's linking with you," she whispered, voice fragile with awe. "The heart root recognizes your spirit." Elias felt the warmth spread deeper, into memories he thought he'd buried, into emotions he had locked away for years. "Why me?" he murmured. Placed a trembling hand on his. "Because your heart still chooses hope, even when hurt has shaped you. That is the essence of the prophecy." Her fingers, delicate and slightly cold, intertwined with his. Elias' breath caught. There was something incredibly real, incredibly human in the way she leaned closer, seeking warmth, connection, reassurance. He whispered. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. The light dimmed, becoming calmer, gentler, lowered her gaze, her silver lashes trembling. "There is something I must tell you," she said softly. "The prophecy speaks of unity, not just spiritual, but emotional, a connection strong enough to awaken the ancient pulse. I never believed it was possible for me." Elias watched her carefully. "Why not?" She hesitated, her fingers tightening slightly around his hand. "Because I sealed away my emotions after my mother died. I believed feeling too deeply only led to loss. My duty demanded distance." Elias' heart ached for her. "You were protecting yourself." "Yes," her voice broke slightly. "But since you arrived, everything inside me feels different. I feel alive in ways I haven't in years, and it frightens me." He cupped her hand gently. "You don't have to be afraid with me." Her breath trembled as she lifted her gaze to meet his, a gaze filled with centuries of strength and newfound vulnerability. "You are the only person who has ever spoken to me like I'm more than a crown." Elias swallowed, emotions swelling painfully in his chest. "You are more, you always were." The heart root pulsed in response, brighter this time, like it sensed the truth in their words. But the moment was interrupted by a violent thud from outside the barrier. The sentinel slammed its massive fists against the glowing dome, cracks forming like thin spiderwebs before sealing again. The creature roared, its red energy sparking angrily. Elias turned, instinctively moving to shield. "That thing won't give up." "No," she said quietly. "And when the fallen order realizes the heart of the veil is awakening, they will send more, stronger ones." Elias looked at the sanctuary, at the glowing heartroot, at the waves of ancient light now swirling around them. "Then we need to awaken whatever this prophecy is fully, before the next wave arrives." Hesitated. "Awakening it requires complete harmony between us, our thoughts, our emotions, our fears." He nodded. "Then we'll do it together." She stared at him, searching his face, perhaps looking for doubt, but finding none. Her voice softened. "The heartroot responds to clarity of emotion. Elias, you must speak your truth, and I must speak mine." Elias exhaled shakily. "Ever since I met you, something in me changed. I didn't expect it. I didn't want to feel anything after everything I lost. But I do. I care about you more than I understand, more than I expected." Her lips parted slightly, a soft gasp escaping. Her crowns flickered warm, bright. Then, with a courage she didn't know she still had, whispered, "I feel the same, and that is why I fear losing you more than anything." The heartroot exploded into radiant light. Waves of golden brilliance spiraled around them, rising into the sanctuary like a storm of stars. The barrier outside thickened, glowing brighter, forcing the sentinel backward. His hand found Elias' chest, feeling his heartbeat. Elias held her firmly, grounding her. Their emotions, raw, honest, unguarded, merged with the heartroot's ancient energy. The prophecy began to awaken. The light grew so bright, it blinded everything around them. Elias and clung to each other as the heartroot unleashed its full power. The sentinel outside let out one final roar, and was thrown back into the forest in a blast of celestial force. The heart of the veil had chosen, and destiny had taken its first true breath. The heartroot's explosion of golden light slowly faded, leaving a calm, warm glow drifting like dust in the air. Elias blinked against the brightness, still holding close. His heart hammered, not from fear, but from the overwhelming realization of what they had just unleashed together. Crowns shimmered brighter than he had ever seen, not with exhaustion, not with fear, but with pure, awakened energy. She took a slow breath, placing her fingertips gently against the center of her chest. The pulse of it has awakened. Elias steadied her. Are you all right? I'm more than all right. She looked at him with eyes full of fierce life. For the first time in years, I feel whole. Her words deepened the ache in Elias' chest, the good kind, the kind that felt like hope. The sanctuary around them glowed stronger with every heartbeat, as if the planet itself celebrated their bond. But the moment of peace didn't last. The ground trembled again, this time not from a single creature, but from an entire army. The roar of engines, metallic, sharp, deadly, echoed through the forest outside the sanctuary. Space tightened. The fallen order, they felt the awakening. Elias rose with her, hands balled into fists. We can fight. She shook her head gently. The prophecy is not about battle, it is about balance, and the awakening has given us something far more powerful than any weapon. The heartroot responded, glowing brighter, its branches unfolding like wings. The air swirled with shimmering threads of light, threads that drifted toward Elias and wrapped around his palms. They felt warm, soft, alive. Stepped closer, lifting her hands. Threads of amethyst light wrapped around her fingertips as well. We are now connected to the pulse. Together we can restore what they destroyed. Elias felt a surge of strength, emotional, spiritual, overwhelming. Tell me what to do. The heartroot will guide us, she whispered. But first, we must trust each other completely. He met her gaze without hesitation. I already do. Her breath trembled at his certainty. Slowly placed both her hands over his. The moment their palms touched, the entire sanctuary erupted in swirling, celestial light. The heartroot's roots lit up, sending waves of energy beyond the sanctuary, through the forest, beneath the ground, reaching the very edges of the planet. Outside, the fallen order's army advanced. Their machines thundered. The forest collapsed under the pressure of their march. But then everything stopped. A single golden pulse spread from the heart of the veil like a shockwave. Time didn't freeze, but the world paused in awe. The trees straightened. The ground stilled. Even the enemy's massive machines sputtered, their red energy dimming. His voice carried through the light. The planet hears us, it obeys us. Elias felt the weight of destiny settle over him. Not a burden, an honor. The heartroot's energy flowed through their joined hands, rising like a gentle storm. Elias saw memories, not just his, but her childhood, her mother's smile, the day she took the throne, the years she carried loneliness like armor. Saw Elias' memories too. The humans he had lost, the stars he had wandered, the quiet ache of believing he had no future. And in that shared understanding, something unbreakable formed. The second pulse erupted, stronger than the first. Outside, the fallen order's machines collapsed into silent heaps of metal. The soldiers dropped their weapons, stunned, falling to their knees as the planet's roots rose gently around them, not to harm, but to restrain. Balance restored. The threat ended. Gasped softly, tears gathering in her eyes. Elias, you did it. We did it, he corrected. The sanctuary began to dim, returning to its calm, steady glow. Stepped closer, her hands still wrapped in golden threads that refused to fade. You changed my destiny, she whispered. Not because a prophecy demanded it, but because your heart chose to. Elias felt his throat tighten. You gave me something I thought I lost, a reason to keep moving. Her eyes glimmered with emotion so deep it felt ancient. Then let us move forward together, not as a queen and a legend, but as an Elias. He nodded. In the quiet aftermath, as the planet hummed with restored life, rested her forehead gently against his, an unspoken promise of everything their bond had yet to become. Her first gasp had been disbelief. Her final breath in that sanctuary was hope. Destiny had awakened, and it was only their beginning.